The next speaker, David Lawrence, is with AIG Lincoln, and as I mentioned earlier, David has participated in our earlier conference and in many around the Central Eastern European region, really pushing the issue for both his company and to bring others into the group. So another interesting thing, and David can tell you more about it, is that you can see from what they've undertaken, continuous improvement process, benchmarking, and looking at all these things. It's clear that they're serious about this as both a current issue and for the future. So, David.
Thank you very much, Stephen, once again. I bumped into Stephen about 2 years ago when we were working on our project here in Romania, and I just think it's been absolutely fantastic of what the Romanian Green Building Council have achieved in such a short space of time. I work right across Europe. I'm the Managing Director for the construction and development for AIG Lincoln. And it really has come on leaps and bounds in Romania. And we've talked today very much about energy. Well, what I must say is the energy comes from the people. That's you guys and ladies, I must say. Without you and all your products and wanting to tackle green buildings, it wouldn't be possible. So thanks to all of you, really, for pushing it so far ahead in Romania. What I'm going to do today is just show you a few projects that we're actually live on or worked on, and there was a gentleman earlier said he thought it was all a bit PR, but having worked on it for 2 years, I can assure you it's not PR, it's a lot of bloody hard work. So anyway, I'll show you some of the projects we've worked on. I'll show you a little bit about AIG. Okay, just a little bit about AIG. We're a joint venture, AIG and Lincoln Developments. We focus on offices, logistics, retail and residential. We work in 8 or 9 countries across Europe. We have about 2.5 million square meters of real estate under development right now. And we about 250 people all working on those schemes. They're the countries that we work in, right from Madrid to Moscow. Since this year, we have put in place a criteria for all of our developments to be a very good standard rating for BREEAM. I met with BREEAM about 2 or 3 years ago, and the reason why I met with them is because our clients, apart from the investors, are our tenants. And it became obvious through questionnaires when they were looking for property around Europe. They often asked, do you have an environmental certification in place? And at the time, 3 years ago, we didn't. In fact, a lot of our development teams didn't even know what a BREEAM or LEED was or what an environmental certification was. So I've researched into this and compared BREEAM, compared with LEED, and that was pretty much it in Europe. So I met with BREEAM, did a research with them, and realized that they had a fantastic amount of material that they'd developed over the last, I think, 20 years, but they hadn't really worked on mainland Europe. So I came to an agreement with them that would they like to pilot some of our projects in Europe and bring their scheme into Europe. And I'm pleased to say after about 2 years' work, we've now published, or they have published, the BREEAM Europe documentation, which is this, which was published about a month ago. And as you can see, I've printed it both sides. If anyone asks me, why have you printed it out on paper? Cut down. It's about 2 files worth of criteria there. So all that stuff that you learned about this morning in your training, it's very much that book. And the training course for BREEAM actually takes 3 days. So you've done quite well today in terms of understanding what the criteria are. Why BREEAM? Holistic. In terms of green and sustainability, there is a slight difference. It's okay to have a very green building, but if no one actually wants to go there, then perhaps it's not so sustainable. So we actually like the holistic approach that BREEAM brought to development, and it actually changed the way that we thought about development right from an early stage. Secondly, it's international, it's credible. People understand it, they know it actually has a standard, and not only that, the manuals get updated every year. So as the building codes improve, so does the BREEAM standard. It's customer focused, it does comply with European standards and European norms, continuous improvement, and it provides a benchmark, and it really is, quite frankly, a common sense approach to development. And when we work in mainland Europe with various, mostly local architects and designers, it provides a great checklist for them to actually develop their concepts and schematics. The benefits is really improving environmental and building design standards, and very importantly for our tenants, it improves the interior, the health and well-being of the occupants. You saw a lot today about the interiors, some of the suppliers from the founder members, and that's very much what it's about. It's the improvement and well-being, health and well-being of the occupants. This is the first project. This is the only project I know of that has been BREEAM certified very good. I don't know any other project in Central and Eastern Europe that has a certification. If there is a developer out there that has a BREEAM certificate, please let me know, because that's the first one, and that took us about a year to get certification. That's what the certificate looks like. Very good. That's what we got after a year's work and a lot of hard work. A lot of evidence has to be provided and signed off. We had to educate and employ a whole engineering team, a team that said that they understood BREEAM, but obviously trying to apply it locally to architects and engineers in Hungary and then get it back to the UK for approval was quite a challenge. But we did it. They're the 8 criteria that BREEAM look at. Management, health and well-being, energy, transport, water, materials, ecology and pollution. Now, at the morning session, you learned about EPCs, Energy Performance Certificates, or EPBDs as the directive. Now, if my pointer is right, that comes under energy, under the BREEAM certification. So the EPCs or EPBDs will fall under energy. Okay? So as you can, when I said about holistic approach, it takes into account all of those criteria, which a lot of that was covered earlier on in the session about lunchtime. Okay, so that was a little bit about BREEAM and our first certificate. Our next certificate is this project called Lakeview in Bucharest. It's just north of here. It's total 47,000 square meters, 24,000 net lettable. And this was a good example of the tenant coming along. We're 90% let. We're minus 4 level at the moment, and then we'll be going up during this year. The tenants are Price Waterhouse and ABN AMRO Bank, and both of them required a very good rating on their buildings, on their new headquarters in Bucharest. And we were pleased. I think we were probably the only one who said, yes, we'll guarantee you'll get a very good rating. That will go in for certification this month. This is another project in Prague. We talked a little bit earlier, I think Mr. Scrivens talked about business parks and how he loved business parks. This is one of the most successful business parks in Central and Eastern Europe. It's called the Park Prague, which we developed over a number of years. It's 12 buildings altogether, 120,000 square meters, and it was phased. And here's just some pictures and images of what the landscaping and what benefits it brings to the employees around, the amenities, and in terms of providing good landscaping. This is a project called White Gardens. It's a project which is 100,000 square meters in Moscow. We are currently doing the BREEAM certification, again going for a very good rating. Now I keep saying very good rating, and why not excellent rating? For those of you who don't know, BREEAM starts with, well, the highest is an excellent, very good, good, pass and a fail. We're a speculative developer, i.e. we buy land, we build a development, we then manage it and then sell it. To achieve an excellent does cost money. There's absolutely no question. But on our first project, when we did the Hungarian project, the Quadrum, which I showed you earlier, we didn't spend any additional money apart from on consultants to provide evidence. So we actually believe that our standards, we can achieve a very good in almost every country. It does depend on locations, utilities, and there's a lot of work you have to do to prove that you're getting a very good standard and implement certain things. But there were earlier, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, people were saying, yeah, it's going to cost 10% more, maybe 15% more. Well, in actual fact, we believe that it would perhaps at the most, to get a very good, in terms of AIG developments, maybe 1% more. We have to spend more on consultants, of course. But to get an excellent rating, you do have to, there's absolutely no question, you do have to spend money. And as a speculative developer, it may not become feasible to get an excellent rating. So we actually believe that a very good rating is sufficient. And as I said, the certification standards actually improve year on year. There's some images of it. We are actually under construction right now. This is a shopping centre in Brno. Now I'll show you, talk about shopping centres. The BREEAM have worked with an organisation called the International Council of Shopping Centres. That is a group of developers, I think about 6 or 7, and they actually worked with BREEAM and launched the first retail sustainable certification as of last week, endorsed by 7 international developers, including ECE out of Germany, Redevco, MAB, I think about 3 Dutch and a few UK. So again, they're using BREEAM, and I also understand that the Dutch Green Building Council are also working with BREEAM to develop the certification process. Now, I won't go into the positives and negatives of BREEAM versus LEED here. I'm quite happy to take questions at the cocktails afterwards. But I think the most important thing is to say that this is now becoming the norm, to actually have a benchmark and to have your schemes certified. This is a project in Munich. We've just submitted that. I think we scored 60 points, which is again a very good. To get an excellent is 70 points. This is a project in Milan. This was the old Alfa Romeo site in Milan, and it's about 500,000 square meters. We've got something like 15 buildings there. We're on our 6th building. Interesting, in Italy, they've now just passed new environmental standards for insulation, for solar, for water, rainwater harvesting. This doesn't look a very exciting building, but that's our first building where this is our logistics building where we've installed rainwater harvesting. And interestingly, a company in Germany came to us and said, "Can we rent the whole of your roof?" We said, "Fine, yeah, if you want to pay it." And they're going to install solar panels on top of the roof and power the facility and sell back the surplus into the network. So a lot of developments happening in Germany, which is actually quite exciting. And this is a project in Düsseldorf where we're just in the process of finalizing the planning. And in Germany, because the standards are considerably high, we believe we actually can get an excellent rating if we wish to. As my favorite saying, an invasion of armies can be resisted, but not an idea whose time has come. I think there's a tipping point now. We've reached the tipping point. Green is now good. It doesn't cost as much as people think. And I think a good example is what's been happening in the financial markets, where it's been quite clear over the last 4 or 5 years with their practices and what they've been doing in the financial markets has not been sustainable. I was with an insurance expert last week who said to me, over the last 5 years, the money that has been spent on repairing the damages from climate change, i.e. the typhoons, the hurricanes, the flooding in the UK, flooding in Germany, has been absolutely staggering over the last 5 years. And I think people are beginning to recognize that unless we actually do something, of which buildings contribute, people say, up to 50%, then what's happened in the global financial markets, the environmental challenge in front of us, the financial market is minor compared to what we confront going forward. So I've been very pleased to be part of this process over the last 3 years. I've been very enthusiastic. It started off as something, as an idea, and it's now very much embedded into what we do as a developer, how we think, and how we're going to go forward in the future. Thank you very much.